Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good day today. And in this video I want to do a review of the Krieghoff K-80. Now if you've watched my channel you're probably thinking you've already done a review of that, and that is true. I did do a review in the past and I actually just got through deleting that review because I looked at it, and after looking at it I felt like I came across in a way that was a little bit maybe biased as far as my opinion goes, and I didn't provide a really good and thorough review of the product, especially for someone that may be looking at either changing to this gun or buying it, as a higher end gun. I don't think that I really provided that review that gives that kind of an information. So I want to kind of redo this here and do a review of it that comes from an opinion of somebody that's not biased, that's just presenting the facts. But I will let you know that this is the piece of equipment that I do use, although I have had other guns in the past. I've shot a Beretta in the past and a Remington 870, and then I moved into a Perazzi and then into this Krieghoff. So that's kind of my gun history there in a nutshell, and I've had a couple of little guns in there, but that's the major guns that I shot. So the two higher end guns are obviously the Perazzi and the Krieghoff. I have had a little bit of experience with some of the other guns. A lot of that for me comes from listening to other people that actually own those. So for example, I haven't had a Blaser, but I know people that have had. So I know some of the experiences and the things that they've been through with that. So let's go ahead and get to it. I think that the balance on this gun is very good, and that's one thing that's going to set it apart for some of you. And for some of you, you may like a Perazzi's balance a little bit better. It's going to depend on your build and how you're built and everything. I can tell you that a lot of your higher caliber trap shooters shoot this gun, but once again, it kind of depends on you in that regard. So I personally like the balance of it. Now there are two options if you're getting a Krieghoff K-80 Trap Special. You can get the Pro Rib or just a standard. The difference is that the Pro Rib, which is actually what I have here, is the rib is a little bit bigger. Now I like that. I think it helps me to get into a more heads up position. So I head straight up and down instead of being over this way or something along those lines. So I really like having that ability to have a little bit of a higher rib. But once again, that is to some degree a personal preference. You do need to have your head up for trap shooting. That's pretty much accepted across the whole trap shooting community, if you will. Is you do need to shoot in a heads up position. But a regular Krieghoff K-80 barrel, a trap special barrel, may do that for you. That's just something you're going to have to experiment a little bit. If you have the opportunity to go to a shoot and you have the opportunity to demo both a Pro Rib and a standard rib, that's ideal. That way you can figure out for sure what works best for you, depending on your build and your experience level and such. So the next thing I want to talk about, I think this is something that you see a lot when people that are talking about Krieghoffs and Perazzis, is a trigger situation here. Obviously with the Perazzis you have the ability to have multiple triggers. So you can have as many backup triggers as you want. Most people have two. A regular trigger and then a backup trigger. And so they have two triggers total. But what you see sometimes in a comparison between the two is with this Krieghoff you have one trigger, with the Perazzi you have two. So it's kind of a personal preference thing, but it is kind of a difference to be aware of. The advantage, I think, in both ways is obviously if you're shooting a Perazzi, if your number one trigger goes down, you can go to your second trigger, which is really nice if you have the same trigger. So if you have two Perazzi brand triggers, that's great. If you have a Perazzi and for example I have an Allen brand, then it's not quite as much of an advantage in that scenario because they're not exactly the same. So if you do have a Perazzi, I would highly recommend that you have the same trigger as both your regular trigger and your backup trigger. That way you know for sure that it's going to feel the same once in the gun, and whenever you're setting the tension, try to get it the same as well. Now the Krieghoff, the trigger is very durable on it. I have had and seen very little issues with it. Now I have had an issue with it I know one time, and I had to get it fixed. And it didn't totally put me out of commission, but it was kind of frustrating because of the fact that, you know, whenever I held the gun up and I went and called for a target, went to it, it was dry firing a lot. Now that's not something that happens a lot. You know, I've put a lot of shells through this gun, and I haven't had that but that one instance. And sent it to Krieghoff, or sent it to the Grand actually with a friend of mine, and he took it to the gunsmith and got it all fixed. But it is something to know that if this trigger does go out, which once again does not happen very often, as long as you keep, you know, good maintenance, do the annual checkups or annual maintenance on your gun, you make sure you do all that faithfully. It doesn't happen very often, but it is something to be aware of, that you're not just going to pop another trigger in here. You know, you're going to have to take it to the gunsmith, or, you know, obviously if you're a gunsmith yourself and you have the ability to work on these things and all the certifications and stuff, you know, you can do it then. But you're going to send it to a gunsmith. For most of us, we're going to send it to a gunsmith. We're going to have to send it to Krieghoff, one of those two, to get this fixed. So that is a little bit of a problem area, if you will, is that you don't have the ability to just pop it in their trigger. But once again, these triggers are very durable. You know, it's not going to happen very often. So if you're somebody that you feel like this gun fits you better than any other gun on the market, and you feel like the balance is great, and you just feel like this is the gun, but you're kind of concerned about the trigger, I can tell you I haven't had very many problems with it. And all the guys that I know that have shot Krieghoffs, they haven't had problems with it. But it is something to know about before your purchase decision. You know, as far as the wood that you get whenever you get the gun, that's the forearm there that I got. I have my precision fit stock on here right now, but I did bring my other stock in here, and this just came with the gun. It should, if you get a Krieghoff, it should look very similar to this. It's a beautiful piece of wood, but you know, obviously that's pretty normal for your higher end guns to have great wood. You know, so but it is nice, you know, so that's what you're going to get if you buy it, you know, just standard, without any stocks or without any custom stocks or custom recoil pads or anything like that on there. It does have adjustable ribs, which I really like. All you do to do that is you just take out this screw on the front here, and you just move this dial back and forth. Check out my video. I have a video on the channel on how to do an adjustable rib, and I will post a picture of this on here so that you can see what it looks like. And you do get the chokes. Now the chokes is another area that I do want to talk about. Obviously you can get custom barrel work on this gun, but the Krieghoff titanium chokes, I think they're pretty good. This is what I use for all three disciplines. That's what it looks like there. And you know, I use a full choke for my handicaps, and I use a light improved modified, or excuse me, a light modified for my a light modified to a modified for my first shot of doubles, and a light improved modified for my second shots. So the chokes are very good, but they do pattern differently. You know, I think you're going to see that with any choke. But you know, I have 2 or 3 full chokes, and depending on the one that I choose to pattern, one day I took them out there and I patterned all 3 of them, and I just picked the one that I thought had the best pattern. Now they will break a target very hard, so they're a great choke. Obviously custom barrel work is nice to have as well, so that's kind of going to be a personal preference thing. But none of the chokes are nice, especially, you know, if you're in a situation where whenever you get it, like I said, whenever I got it, I had 2 or 3 full chokes. I just took them out to the pattern board and said, hey, this is the one that I think is going to be the best for me to shoot, because I like the pattern a bit the best. And you know, so I did that there. So overall, to kind of conclude the review here, it's a great gun. You know, if you're looking into getting a higher end trap gun, then I think that this is going to be a very viable option for you. There are other options out there. You know, you have your Kohler, your Perazzi, your Blaser, Lujic, Silverside, Caesar Guarini, and so on. There's a ton of options out there. But you know, this is not necessarily the best gun on the market for everybody. It may be the best for some people depending on your size, your build, and everything. You know, so for example, for me, it is the best balance for my particular you know, body size and everything, that, you know, it fits really well for me. But there are other great guns out there, so just keep that into consideration that yes, a lot of the pros, they do use this gun and they do use Parazis, but you may go out and you may try it and you say, hey, the Kohler feels best to me. That's kind of the area you need to go. So overall, this is a great gun. It's going to be very durable for you. The balance, feeling of it, it's just going to be kind of be a thing that you're going to have to figure out, by holding it and shooting it if you have the opportunity. That's great. I highly recommend you shoot a gun before you buy it if you have the opportunity to, especially a gun that you're talking about that's in an upper price range. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helped you if you're looking at making a purchase decision on a Krieghoff K-80 or another high-end trap gun. It's a very good gun. It's very much worth the money, and it's something you should be looking into if you are looking at purchasing a higher-end trap gun. So thank you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up, guys. Thank you so much.